Welcome back to Scarlet and Maize. I'm Adam. This is
Zach.
Good job. Week 2 recap. Michigan 35, UNLV 7. There's not much to say about this game specifically, to be honest. So I'll just say J.J. McCarthy threw 2 games, essentially a game and a half, because he sat most of the fourth quarter and all of the fourth quarter. Is 48 for 55. That's 87%. 558 yards, 5 touchdowns, no picks. I know they've played nobody, but he still has looked so good in terms of decision-making. Arm strength, accuracy, pocket presence is a big one. He's keeping his eyes up instead of running. I think he would have run a lot more if this was last year. We'll obviously see if it continues, but it seems clear to me that he's made a leap, and it seems just as clear that Michigan agrees that they trust him more. The starting defense has given up under 200 yards through the game and a half equivalent that they've been playing so far, even without multiple starters, including both safeties. So there's no concern for that, I think, right now. The only thing I'm kind of watching is, shockingly, the run game.
Yeah.
So they haven't looked bad, but it hasn't looked nearly as good, especially considering the competition. Michigan has been rotating linemen a bit. I think they'll iron it out, and especially with teams unable to try to force JJ to beat them with his arm if he stays this accurate. I'm not worried about it. I'm just kind of like, should I be worried about it? I'm like monitoring it. Also, Blake Corum is actually averaging 6.1 yards per carry compared to 5.9 last year.
Wow.
And I think Edwards will get back up to where people expected. I think they're both rusty. They were safe with him this offseason, but whatever.
Yeah, I saw a tweet that said that they were saying that they feel like Corum and Edwards have both lost a step.
Yeah, there was sort of in the first game. In this game, Donovan Edwards had like 5 or 6 carries.
Yeah.
So it's kind of hard to get in a rhythm.
He had less than 10 yards, didn't he? But
yeah.
Yeah.
So there was a sentiment among Michigan fans like, oh, maybe Corum has lost a step after his injury, whatever. But then there was a video that tracked his speed, and it was fine. I don't remember the exact number, but
gotcha.
He got just running fast real quick. Well, and he's carrying it more than Edwards. Edwards is getting about the same amount of touches just with passes. Yeah. But they're not running him 40 times a game. So I don't know. I'm not super worried about it. Might be against Penn State or something. I don't know. Or Illinois, if they played Illinois. What do you think?
My only takeaway is we freaking called it. We said that I think Michigan I'm pretty sure they might have had a 10th drive after this, but they scored on 7 of their first 9 drives, scored only touchdowns, and still didn't cover the spread. And that was almost word for word exactly what we said. Yeah. And so that was pretty cool. You can play the clip if you want. I don't know how that works. You can just cut that out if you don't want to play the clip. But yeah, I don't really have any other thoughts other than that. Some fans speculating the running backs lost a step. It's just hard to take away things from games like this unless it's like when you blow a team out that you're expected to blow out. It's hard to have any takeaways.
Yeah. Mike Hart did say that they left a lot of yards on the field, but part of that, I think, is the offensive line. I know that they talked about receivers not blocking as well as Ronnie Bell did. I don't know. I think they'll figure it out. I don't think Roman Wilson's going to be as good a blocker as Ronnie Bell, but whatever. Ohio State 35, Youngstown State 7.
Yeah, this game actually had me sweating for a split second because Ohio State scored on their first drive with a long pass to Marv naturally, but then Youngstown State Ohio State's defense could not get off the field on Youngstown State's first drive. They drove down the field. I think they converted on 3rd down multiple times and they scored a touchdown, and it was 7-7. Then Ohio State went 3 and out on the next drive, and I was like, holy crap, what is going on? But then obviously they took care of business. McCord solidified himself as QB1, and I think it was a smart move. They actually named him the starter now too. That with less than 2 weeks before the really big game against Notre Dame, I think it's smart to have at least one game where he's the full-time starter under the belt.
Especially if they've been splitting time in practice, it'll be good to get him full-time in practice before.
Yeah, and I really like the approach they're taking with the running backs. I forget I saw this stat on Twitter that was saying that Mayan, Travion, and Chip are all averaging. One's averaging 6 carries a game, one's averaging 7 carries a game, one's averaging 8 carries a game, and I'm like, that's perfect because especially with in a backfield that had an injury-plagued season last year, I think it'll really help to stay healthy and have some fresh legs in big games at the end of the season. Another thing that I really liked is, so at this point of the season, the DBs were an issue last year. Like they had technique issues. They were getting a lot of pass interference calls, but like when obviously it's a couple crappy teams, but like the technique and fundamentals look light years better than a season ago at this point. Like Denzel Burke has really come along, getting back to where he was after being a freshman All-American. Had a nice interception in this game too. But yeah, I like what I've seen from Ohio State so far. We'll see it again this week against Western Kentucky.
Yeah. I don't care about this game. I don't care about the next game. I just want to fast forward to the Notre Dame game.
I do think it was hilarious. The Youngstown State coach wore the sweater vest for Jim Tressel. That's hilarious. But
Scarlett and May's pick standings. I went 12-3 this week, 14-3 overall. That's 82%, so I'm just behind JJ McCarthy. You went 12-4 with the bonus point for the game of the week, but you're still 13-5 overall. That's 72%.
Stupid Nebraska.
I don't know why you trusted them.
Yeah, 2
which
weeks
means they're going to win this week. Viewer questions. Will the Michigan State coaching situation cause Michigan State to lose more games than previously expected? I picked them to go 4-8. So there's not much wiggle room since they're 2-0 right now.
Yeah.
I did have them winning those 2 games, but D'Antonio didn't leave Michigan State because he had really dropped off at the end, or at least that's not only because of that. So I don't know. I'm going to keep them at 4-8. I had them beating Nebraska and Indiana, and I think that's still right. If one of those games flips, it's got to be Indiana since they're an up-and-coming threat, according to Ohio State's D linemen. So, what do you think?
I didn't take the time to look back and see how many wins I picked them to, but I think
you had 7
That's what I was thinking, 7-5. I would say more likely, yes, that they, like, I already was kind of giving them more wins than they deserved.
You had them beating Michigan,
right? Which I still think is on the table. Because why not? And, D'Antonio...
Can't argue with that logic.
D'Antonio has a track record against Michigan State, but I think they'll probably lose more. Like, I would say more likely to be 5-7 at this
I
point
love
than
that you
7-5.
slipped up and said D'Antonio has a track record against Michigan State.
Oh, yeah.
Likely now to finish 5-7?
Yeah.
7-5?
Yeah.
Okay. There we go. So, next question. MSU received the complaint on Mel in December. Did the school handle this well?
I do not know enough about the story to comment on this, to be honest. Like, I haven't sat down and even read an article about it. I know, like, the headlines. I know the way people are talking about it, and that's really the extent I know about it. But no matter what, through all of this, it's really sad for this university and this fan base. Like, they've been through a lot in the past few years, and this is probably the littlest of most of them, and it's still pretty gross. Whether it's consensual or not, it's still pretty gross to, like, even just the drama of it all.
Yeah, I don't surprisingly maybe don't want to talk about Mel Tucker all day, but I'll just say this. No. So they said they aren't the same old MSU or whatever.
Yeah.
But they're also bringing back Mark D'Antonio, who was forced out because of his handling of Austin Robertson and his sexual assault history, and then eventually another one once he was on campus. Insert last year's list here. For real. Mel Tucker is a self-described horse football coach. Michigan State is a horse program inside of a horse athletic department. Just ask the physical and or sexual assault victims of Adrian Payne, Keith Appling, Mateen Cleaves, Travis Walton, Chris L. Rucker, Orrin Wilson, Miles White, Malik McDowell, Austin Robertson, Glenn Winston for either of his incidents, Roderick Jenrette, Draymond Green, and I'm not just talking about Jordan Poole, Demetrius Cox, Demetrius Cooper, Joshua King, Demetric Vance, Donnie Corley, Keith Mumphrey, Josh King, Brock Washington, Charles Willikis, and Luke Fulton. That is just since 2010. And that doesn't include any of the 10-plus guys who should get in trouble for this past Saturday. So a number of which were on Mark D'Antonio's watch. And I'll just add now, Miles Bridges. I forgot to add that before. And Mel Tucker. So I'll just ask again, how many isolated incidents from one program simply equals the culture of that program? So the smoke is that someone from MSU is who leaked Brenda Tracy's name to the press initially, but she was prepared with the report USA Today published. She said, if my name gets leaked out there, publish this. So I'll just stop there because I want to move on. But no, I don't think the program has drastically changed, and I think literally all of the evidence points to that. They did go through something horrible with the shooting on campus. What else? I'm just curious. What else was there that they went through?
Well, even like no matter their opinion on the tunnel stuff, that was dramatic and was stupid and embarrassing for the university. The whole,
which I should have added that to the list as well.
The whole Larry Nassar story is absolutely disgusting and all that. Yeah. And that's
fair. I just wanted to make sure I was getting what you were saying.
Yeah. Those are the ones that were coming to mind. The shooting of them. Those.
I honestly didn't even think about the tunnel, which is kind of funny to me.
Well, it's not one that's more like it was just. It's not like it's something that was necessarily one person's fault in the higher ups at least, but it is it could be attributed to the culture. And
I mean, they did kind of circle the wagons. They, even the player that had a forced an apology, and then that day, as he announced the apology that day, put on Instagram better watch your backs next year type thing. I don't know. To me, it's so clear that this is the culture, whether they say it's old or not. I can hit you and go, I'm not going to hit you again, and I haven't changed. I'm still hitting you. So
okay,
whatever. Is Cade McNamara going to throw more touchdown passes than J.J. McCarthy this season? This is from my Iowan friend Jim. I'll let you take it first. I love the question.
My notes simply just say no. Unless there's some injury or something, Cade would have to have a very good year.
I'm glad you say that. If J.J. McCarthy gets hurt and Cade has a good year. So J.J. McCarthy has 5 passing touchdowns right now. So I think the question really is worded wrong, or maybe I could fix it. Did you mean to ask, Jim, if Cade will throw more this season than J.J. has right now? Because I feel like that would be a tougher question.
How many touchdown passes did Peaches have last year? I'm curious.
That is
because it probably wasn't a lot more than 5.
No.
If it was more than 5.
So my answer is no. Also, Big Ten takeaways. I ended up picking Wisconsin like an idiot, but I did warn us last week that Washington State could easily come out with the win. I still think Fickle is a good coach for them, but I got to remember it's year 1 or year 0, whatever. It's year 0 doesn't really exist with the transfer portal and whatever, but
right. No. So that's your big that's my big takeaway too, is bring down Wisconsin a little bit. I still think they're the favorite to win the West, even though they lost. The West isn't that great. I don't. Not much to take away from last week. That's about it. Yeah. Wisconsin's a little closer to everyone than we thought.
Rapid fire Turd Pile Picks, which could have been the entire schedule nationwide, but Virginia at Maryland. Maryland's favored by 14.5. I got Maryland.
Yep.
Early year still.
Yep. Virginia lost to James Madison or something like that. Yeah.
Penn State is favored by 14.5 at Illinois. Penn State.
Yep.
Louisville favored by 10 at Indiana.
I actually picked Indiana here. I'm rolling with the defensive lineman for the Buckeyes.
I'm glad he said that to get me more of a lead in my picks after I lost last year. I got Louisville. Yeah. I don't think it'll be close. I don't even know anything about Louisville. I just know some about Indiana.
Yeah, I don't. I looked at Louisville's body of work and nothing really impressed me, and I'm like, I don't know, why not pick Indiana? We're only 2 weeks in, and there's not really much to go off of at this point, so. Like the Hoosiers.
But there's something to impress you there. Just that they kept it close with Ohio State. Okay. Georgia Southern.
I wouldn't even describe it as keeping it close, but.
It's 3 scores, right? It's not that
Yeah, is
much.
that?
Georgia Southern at Wisconsin. Wisconsin's favored by 19. I got Wisconsin.
Yeah, I got Wisconsin.
Northwestern at Duke, the Nerd Bowl. I got Duke, favored by 18 and a
Yeah,
half.
Duke for sure. Duke's actually decent this year.
Western Michigan at Iowa. Now, Iowa is supposed to score 25 points a game. They have not done that yet.
Wow.
They're favored by 28 and a half.
That might be something.
This would have to be a flamethrower game from Cade McNamara, and like Brian Ferentz somehow doesn't make the game.
Yeah.
So I got Iowa, but definitely not that spread. That's
I've
ridiculous.
got Iowa. Yeah, that spread is a little wild.
Oh boy. Virginia Tech at Rutgers. Rutgers is favored by 7.
Yeah, I
got Rutgers.
Yeah, I like Rutgers here.
Washington is only favored by 16 at Michigan State.
Yeah.
I would hammer the over on Washington's going to win by a lot.
Take the spread.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll be at this game, so it'll be exciting to see
exciting.
Michael Penix throw a lot of touchdown passes.
Man.
I got Washington.
Northern Illinois at Nebraska. Nebraska is actually favored by 11 and a half here.
Yeah.
I got Nebraska.
Yeah, Nebraska will bounce back. They'll win this game.
Hope they don't. Syracuse is favored by 2.5 at Purdue.
Can we go back to the Big Ten takeaways for a second?
Sure.
My only other Big Ten takeaway is I just want to apologize about Jeff Sims. I was not familiar. I was not familiar with your game, and I'm sorry.
Oh,
and
boy.
I'm sorry that you turn the ball over so much.
Yeah.
That is just I honestly think if Nebraska had decent quarterback play, they have a shot at beating Colorado. They were in that game most of that game, and Jeff Sims was terrible.
Yeah.
There was one play he had all day to throw, scrambled for no reason, they just threw it right to the defense. But that's all I have to say about that. Jeff Sims.
No bueno.
Yeah.
Syracuse at Purdue. I wanted to pick Purdue, but I can't.
Yeah.
I think Ryan Walters will be okay there, but not yet. I got Syracuse.
Yeah, I got Syracuse as well.
Western Kentucky at Ohio State, on to the varsity games.
Yeah.
Ohio State's favored by 29. I got Ohio State.
Yeah, I got the Buckeyes.
Bowling Green at Michigan. Michigan again with a 40.5 point spread.
Yeah. I cashed in on them not covering the spread last week. So
Man, maybe this is the game the running game really clicks and they get some long runs and that they get more possessions, whatever. I got Michigan. I don't know about the spread, though.
Yeah, I got Michigan. I don't think they'll cover the spread. I've got a parlay on them not covering the spread.
Oh, there you go. Game of the week. This was so hard to pick because there are literally 0 good games throughout the entire country. Minnesota at North Carolina.
Yeah.
North Carolina is favored by 8. I'm not a believer in either team.
Yeah.
But I also didn't pick against the spread in any of my other predictions. I picked the favorite in every game. I was really close to just picking Minnesota, but I can't row that boat when I'm trying to catch up to JJ's completion percentage with my picks. So I'll say North Carolina by 3.
Wow. Well, okay. So I like Minnesota. I think they're solid. I think they could win this game. It's tough that it's on the road. Mm-hmm. North Carolina had a very big win against South Carolina, but then they responded with an overtime win against Appalachian State. And so I think they came down to earth a little bit. Drake May is one of the top quarterback prospects. I think he gets it done. I'll take North Carolina. I think it's a close game for most of the game, but I like them by 10, North Carolina.
Dang. Things no one is talking about. The schedule this week, except us. It's as bad a schedule as Mel Tucker described himself as a coach last year. He said, I'm a horseshit football coach. This is a horseshit schedule this week.
I honestly have seen a lot about the schedule being crap this week because everyone is looking forward to next week.
Yeah.
that is usually what it says. It's like, well, the schedule sucks this week, but look at next week because it is loaded.
You said that when we were figuring out what's the game of the week.
Yeah. There
are no good games, and you're like, but next week is loaded.
Yeah. Yeah. So, but yeah, my thing no one's talking about is the SEC. The good old SEC is 0-5 against ranked Power 5 opponents right now. So.
And still crickets.
Yeah.
That's fun. Tweet of the week. Mine is from Tom Van Haren. I don't know if you noticed it, but there was this great moment. I'm just reading the tweet still, but this was a great moment as the CBS broadcast was talking about Ryan Keeler, who passed, who how he wore number 47 and how close he and J.J. McCarthy were. And as they were talking about it, McCarthy threw a 47-yard touchdown pass. And then as they were with the number 47 on his hand, so they were showing him after, like when they were showing the replay of the thing, and he had 47 and he was pointing at it and pointed up. That was just a really cool moment.
That is cool.
What do you got?
Mine is from ESPN's college football account. The caption is, "Should Ohio State get credit for this?" I don't care whether they get credit for it or not. I just think it's I think it's an interesting stat line. I don't think they necessarily should. What's the credit they get for it? I don't know. But it's a picture of Joe Burrow and Quinn Ewers. It says Ohio State transfer Quinn Ewers is the first quarterback to beat Bama in Tuscaloosa since Ohio State transferred Joe Burrow. It's just kind of crazy.
Tell you what, you can get credit for that if Michigan can get credit for Cade McNamara and Dylan McCaffrey and Joe Milton.
Joe Milton's supposed to be that guy, so
he's supposed to be. With that, we have nothing left to say.
Yeah.
So we'll see you next week. Until then, go Blue.
Go Buckeyes.